Hello guys, welcome to another video, and in this video we are going to go over IKE version 2. And before we do that, let's go ahead and go into take a look what we're going to talk about. So I am trying to take my SIMOS exam before it expires next year, February or next year. So I want to take it before. I should be able to pass it before that, way before that. But since we already talked about IKE version 1, if you want to go to my YouTube channel if you haven't watched that and watch that video where I talk about IKE version 1 and IKE version 1 phases. And also I implemented a side-to-side VPN using IKE version 1. Do you want to go ahead and take a look at that before watching this video as well? But in this video, we're going to go over IKE version 2, which is a really important topic for this CCNP security certification. As you can see, it is in over here, IKE version 2 over here, and also IKE version 2 over here. So you need to know IKE version 2 and version 1. So it's really important. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. So IKE version 2, guys. Let's give you a nice overview of what IKE version 2 is. And here it is. It still uses the same UDP 500 and 4500 uses when we're using network address translation. So whenever you're using that, we are going to use 4500, but when we're not using that, we are going to use port 500. So it is still the same as IKE version 1. And it still has the same scope and goal as IKE version 1 as well. But it does not have any backwards compatibility with IKE version 1. So you cannot use IKE version 1 and version 2. If you're going to have IKE version 2, you need to configure IKE version 2 on both endpoints or gateways. And if you're going to use IKE version 1, it needs to be on both gateways as well. So what are the changes that they made on this for IKE version 2? Well, the first one was that um, there are no additional RFS or not even a standard. Everything is now built in one main um, RFC. So on IKE version 2, they implemented everything, all of this. So ISACamp, AH and ESP, IPSec with DOI, DPD, NAT-T, which is not transparent, and mode config. So everything is pre-built for IKE version 2 because what happened with IKE version 1 was IKE version 1 was created a while ago, like really a long time ago. And every time they faced a challenge, what happened was they just implemented a solution, and one of the solutions was ISACamp. So they implemented ISACamp into IKE 1 that you can work both of them together. And then something else happened, and you needed to encapsulate the packets and encrypt the packets, and that's why they came out with the authentication header and with the ESP because they wanted to encrypt and um, do data integrity and data confidentiality, and that's why they came out with this. With IPSec was another problem, so they came out. DPD was another thing, so they came out with DPD as well. NAT translation came up, so they needed to do some NAT transparent, so they did that. So like for every problem that they faced in IKE version 1, they needed a solution, and here are all the solutions. And the solutions are like at a standard by itself, but now in IKE version 2, they are all implemented inside IKE version 2. Okay, and that's just the changes that they made for IKE version 2. All right. So what are the IKE version 2 phases? Is it faster or what's going on? So there's only one phase now, which is nicer because you don't have to remember the phase 1 and phase 2 ISACamp. You configure ISACamp or IPSec for version 1 versus version 2. Now everything runs in one single phase, which is cool. It makes it a lot faster as well. And it only has two mandatory messages, which are the IKE SA init, which is the ISACamp, and the IKE authentication, which is basically like the IPsec or the transform set. But everything is combined in one phase. So this is happening in one phase, which is a lot faster and a lot more cleaner then IKE version 1, and then there are other um, optional messages. I believe the create child essay is when they are rekeying, and the informational, I do not remember that. I should know that. And here are how the faces. There's no face. Only one face. I should put face face one. Um, so for IKE version 2 exchanges is how it happens. It all happens in one phase, like I said before. The first one is the IKE SA init, and over here what happens is the IKE version 2 Security Association SA establishment. So this is a proposal selection and also the key exchange. It happened on this first message on the only phase that IKE version 2 has, which is phase 1. And then there's another um, two other messages that are um, interchange right here, and this one is to create a mutual authentication and identity exchange. This one is the initial IPSec. It says establishment. If you want to configure certificate exchange, or if you have configured that to have a certificate exchange, it's going to happen over here, and the configuration exchange as well is going to happen here, and it's optional because you can use pre-shared keys and authentication. So how does IKE version 2 um, do authentication? It does it different and a lot better than IKE version 1, of course. And in IKE version 2, authentication happens in the IKE authentication, which is in this and the second message. That's when authentication happens. And IKE version 2 supports asymmetric peer authentication, which is really cool. So asymmetric means that we are going to use two different keys to perform authentication. And you can have different pre-shared keys for a pre-shared key authentication. So for one end, let's say you have a route over here and a route over here. What you could have is you can have a pre-shared key that is 1, 2, 3 over here, and a pre-shared key over here that is going to be ABC, and they are able to perform asymmetric peer authentication with different pre-shared keys, which is really cool. Because if you remember before on my configuration, you had to put the same pre-shared key for both gateways, otherwise it won't work. But for IKE version 2, you do not have to do that. You can use different pre-shared keys. And also another way that you can authenticate is by using on one side you can use pre-shared key authentication, and on the other side you can use PKI authentication. And PKI authentication involves having a digital certificate that you can have there. So you can have a pre-shared key on one end, and on the other end you can have a digital certificate. And more on authentication. Like I said before, it happens at the IKE authentication message, which is the second message right here. And it requires additional minimum of 4 messages exchanges. Messages exchange can increase up to 12 to 16. It depends of, like I said right here, it depending of the authentication that you are trying to perform on the remote access client. And here are the different authentications that you can perform with IKE version 2. So we are going to use EAP, um, which is used to authenticate the initiator. And the EAP tunneling that you could use for that authentication are EAP TLS. TLS uses digital certificate. EAP PEEP, I forgot what that uses, but EAP PSK uses, of course, a pre-shared key. And there are also non-tunneling authentications that you can use, which is EAP MSCHAP version 2, EAP MD6, I think it's MD5, and EAP GCT. And also Cisco came out with their own, which is EAP AnyConnect, which you can use or configure your AnyConnect and EAP at the same time. And remember this, that the responder is always authenticated using certificates. And since they are going to be using certificates, the client needs to trust that certificate that is coming from a trusted CA or certificate authority. And for IKE, the IKE version 2 platform support, so IPSec did not change at all, which is for IKE version 1, IPSec was phase number 2. and only the key management framework was the one that changed. And both ASA and iOS routers support IKEV version 2, which is really cool. And assuming that you run the proper code, right, that you configure correctly, it's going to work on both ends. And you could do it for site to site and also for remote access. They both support IKEV version 2, site to site and remote access. And here are the supported VPN types that you could configure. You can configure CryptoMap VPN type, and this is the ASA only supports CryptoMap. So the ASA cannot use a GRE tunnel with an IPSec on top. It cannot use a SVTI or DVTI, and it cannot use a DMVPN or a GET VPN. So if you are going to configure IKE version 2 on an ASA firewall, you are only allowed to use CryptoMap, and which is not really recommended, but it was kept because the ASA only supports CryptoMap. But if you are going to configure IKE version 2 on a router, you could use CryptoMap, which is not recommended, so we're not going to use it. But you could use it with GRE, and you can run IPsec on top, SVTI or DVTI, DMVPN, and GetVPN on Cisco routers. Okay, the ASA can only use CryptoMap. So Cisco is now becoming a little bit more friendly. Um, and as you can see right here, AnyConnect, the AnyConnect client, which is a software that you can run on your computer, either on your Windows computer, Linux computer, or Mac computer, you can run this. You can use this software, and this software it supports both IKE version 2 and SSL, and also supports IKE version 1, of course, and has X authentication is now a standard, so anybody can use it. So Cisco is becoming more friendly because this one is it could be used for any device now. As you can see right here, you can also use other vendor clients to connect to a Cisco VPN gateway. So you do not have to only use Cisco AnyConnect to connect to a Cisco VPN gateway. And also, you can also use the built-in native clients within the operating system to connect to a Cisco VPN gateway. And to end this video, the last change or the new thing that came up with IKE version 2 is routing, because IKE version 2 can push routes into the IPsec peer routing table. And in IKE version 1, this was not available. This was only available for remote access VPN, but now for IKE version 2, it is available for site-to-site and also remote access VPN. So this is it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and ask me any questions there on my YouTube channel, or you can go ahead to my Twitter account. First of all, you can go ahead and follow me, CCNA Daily Tips. And if you don't have a Twitter account, you can go ahead and create a Twitter account and then follow me, CCNA Daily Tips, and you can ask me any question, and I will respond to you within like 5 or 6 hours because I got everything on my mobile, and I'm never doing anything at work. It's like I do a lot of stuff at work. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one, guys. Bye bye.